The soaring energy prices in the United Kingdom have left households facing steeper gas and electricity bills, with many paying as much as about 50% more for energy. And now the ministers have warned that the energy bills can in fact cost 2 months' wages for an average worker. The ministers have been warned that energy bills will cost more than 2 months' wages next year unless some form of help is given to the households. Now, according to the Bank of England and the forecast that have been made, the monthly take-home pay for the average worker in Britain at this point of time is about £2,054, while the annual cost of energy is predicted to rise to as much as £4,200. The United Kingdom is facing one of its worst inflation and energy crises since the 1970s, and the Bank of England has predicted a 15-month recession, with inflation peaking at over 13%. Now, the energy price cap, which limits how much households can in fact be charged, is now forecast to soar by 80% by this October, ultimately pushing citizens in making dire choices like whether they want to have heating in their homes or whether they can purchase food during the winter months. Now, the British Finance Minister Nadhim Zahawi has asked officials in the Finance Ministry to work on a multi-billion-pound package that could lead to an extra £400 cut in the energy bills. The Chancellor is presently working for a proposal for the government-backed lending schemes for the suppliers, which would result in a reduced energy price cap from January. The new proposal will change how the country's energy regulator, Ofgem, determines the level at which the price cap should be set, by removing an allowance that suppliers charge from the consumers. The Treasury had previously said that it is working on energy support options for the country's new leader to consider. Now, both candidates who will replace Boris Johnson, that is Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss, have announced their own plans to help the struggling households pay the fuel bills for the forthcoming winter. Rishi Sunak has promised an increase in the existing £15 billion support package aimed at helping the Britons cope with energy costs, while Truss has not committed to increasing the direct payments to consumers, as she's mentioned to do everything possible to ensure that people can pay their bills, including lifting some environmental surcharges. Meanwhile, the Labour Party leader Keir Starmer has called for a ban on the crippling energy price rises this autumn. The Starmer will set out his plan to deal with the cost of living crisis in a speech on Monday. There are no details ahead of the speech as to how the Labour leader would fund the freeze. Keir Starmer has said that the Labour Party has a plan that meets the scale of this crisis, and he's also added that the party will tax the oil and gas producers who make huge profits. Now, any package that is announced will have to consider the efforts to conserve energy and also demands over the winter, with bills set to remain pretty high into the next year. The whole structure of the price cap and support for the poorer households also needs to be reviewed. And we were earlier joined by Mark Brolin from London for more insights on how the British government intends to tackle the sharp rise in the price of energy and fuel. Listen in to what he had to say.
This is absolutely the key issue, coupled with the inflation issue, and of course these two issues are intertwined. So this will be the key issue throughout the remainder of the year, at least, and lots of it will depend on how cold the winter will turn out to be. You were talking about the different alternatives, and everyone is sort of for, you could call it a left-wing response in the short term, because everyone wants some sort of price cap or interventionism. The details are yet to spelled out, as you also said before. Longer term, it's more analytically falling along the traditional right-wing, left-wing lines, since left-wingers are saying that the problems we are having now is due to the energy market it doesn't work well, whereas right-wingers are saying that it's because of all the interventionism that has sort of affected the market actually for decades, that we have these energy prices because of the bans on nuclear reactions and fracking and all these kind of stuff. So longer term, it will be a more traditional left-right-wing divide again. I think it's quite clear now that Liz Truss is going to win, and she has more of a right-winger approach than Rishi Sunak. And she's talking about moratorium on a green energy device and that kind of thing. And she's also talking about opening up more than Rishi Sunak is doing for fracking and nuclear reactions yet again. So I think she will be less interventionist. That's at least the signal she's saying now. And it is fairly clear she is having a substantial lead at the moment. So unless something really strange happens, she is going to win and be the next prime minister. And lots of decisions are going to have to be taken when she is probably crowned on September 6th. So there will be sort of a ghost period until then.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.